Hey, this is a rank sentimentalist, and this is my Let's Play on World of Tanks. I'm not sure if all of you are familiar with World of Tanks, but it's a free-to-play game from wargaming.net. It's about World War II era, 1930s to the early 1950s armored combat. So it's all tanks. Like I said, it's free to play. It's based on a tiered system where you have different countries, and they all have tech trees that you can progress up. Now, obviously, most of my vehicles are German. And I started to kind of go up the American tree, but definitely for the American, I just want to get the Shermans to play in those tier 5 and 6 battles. This is just, I think, a very, very high quality game. I've played a lot of these free to plays, and most of them, when I say this, I don't want to, come across as being elitist, but a lot of these games that come from Eastern Europe and Southeast Asia, particularly Korea, like this, particularly the UIs have a kind of unpolished, kind of clunky look, very, very text driven. Uh, I started playing this game in the closed beta, and their alphas, closed and open betas, last a very, very long time. Uh, I joined the alpha for World of Warplanes, for example, in January of 2012, and they're just going to open beta right now. So that alpha beta process is going to last, 2 years before the game goes live. So one thing I got to say, they're very, very committed to quality. Uh, they have a ton of just great vehicle models for all the countries. This is the M6A2E1. It was the gift tank with the heavy package at launch, and you don't see very many of these anymore. A lot of people sold them for the credits, but you bring this out and you get a lot of funny comments. So as I said, it's a very icon-driven, kind of neat, elegant UI, and you have your tank model in the middle, which obviously updates as you swap out weapons. And let's research. So for the Panther, right, I've got everything researched here. This is what I have equipped. The Panther leads to 2 tracks. It leads to the Tiger 2 and the Panther 2. Yeah, which I guess that would be kind of correct. As the Tiger 2 does have the sloped armor. So let's check out this German tech tree for a second. Tiger. Ah, interesting. And that's another thing I like about the tech trees in World of Tanks. That even if you want to get to a place, there are multiple paths to go. Based on your play style. I would like to get the Leopard 1. Just because I got to go up with the Canadian Army and train with them once, and they had Leopard 1s. And this was in, 92, 93, something like that. But to do that, I've got to go back and grind this VK3002. And in the old tech tree, I had to grind that to get to the Panther, and yeah. So you also have a crew. And different crews will have different crew sizes. So most of the German tanks, actually most tanks in World War II, I would say, at least on the American and the German side, had 5 crewmen. The commander, the gunner, the driver, the radio operator, and the loader. Some tanks will have two loaders like the E100. And a lot of the artillery will have. Set that as primary. But a lot of the artillery will have two loaders. So the idea is that everybody on the battlefield has a role. So the light tanks will scout. Medium tanks will group up and swarm in kind of a, dog pack type operation. And tanks will sit back, protected by their armor, and slug away. Artillery, which kind of operates with a whole different game mechanic altogether, in a top-down view, actually, is where you fire the artillery from. Even though they can fire directly if they're, in close proximity to a charging enemy, can only shoot what they themselves, or more likely their allies, can see, because they're sitting way, way back in the battlefield. So the crew, first they have the primary skill in the vehicle and the position. So Lars Schmidtke here has 100% skill as the commander of a Hummel. They also have secondary skills, which you would access in a personnel file. This is personnel file. Shouldn't it be personnel file? Anyway. So, just as a recap, when you start out with a new crew and a new tank, unless you transfer them from another vehicle, they're going to have a skill of 50%. So a lot of the things, so the vehicle will not perform at 100% of its capabilities until the crew is all at 100% skill level. Now, when the commander is at 100% skill level, it gives a bonus to all the other crew members. So he's the commander of the Hummel is 100, but the gunner of the Hummel is at 110% skill, because 100 for himself plus 10% for the commander being at 100. Now, if you don't, I'm not sure exactly how many battles it takes to get up to level 100, to 100% in training level at your position, but probably in the neighborhood of, I don't know, 100 maybe, 100 to 150. So if you want to jumpstart that a little bit, and they start at 80% now, it looks like. Okay. When I started, free was 50%. So for 20,000 credits, which really isn't that much, and this is in in-game money, you can start them off at 90%. I only have 100,000 credits right now, but I bought a bunch of stuff and da. Or for real-world money, it's 200 gold, you can start that guy off at 100%. So for a 5-man crew, that would be 1,000 gold, which is about a couple bucks, maybe $2. let's see. They have the service record where I can see he's fought in 72 battles. He needs 2,000 experience to get his next level in camouflage. Oh, so let's talk about skills. So you have primary, and actually let's go to a different crew to talk about skills. So we already talked about the primary skill in the position and the vehicle. And again, all these guys, this is the Tiger 2, the Königstiger. They are all at 100%. And after you get to 100%, not only do you get the added benefit of your vehicle operating at its maximum capacity, but you get to choose secondary skills. So let's go check out Lothar Schumacher, who's the tank commander of the Tiger 2. So he has 2 secondary skills. He's got Sixth Sense, and he's got Repair. Now there are 2 ways that skills kind of operate. Some skills, you get to use some percentage of the skill as you accrue the skill. So he's at 70% in 77% in repairs. So basically his repair skill operates at 77% capacity, which is, not too bad, and he's getting better. His first skill is Sixth Sense, and as you can see there in the pop-up description, the perk comes into effect after it reaches 100%. So what I actually did was ground up to 100 in repairs, then respec them all into these skills. So yeah, I'm a wallet warrior. But what this is a totally excellent skill, is that whenever I'm spotted, I get this notification that, dude, you've been spotted, you better move your vehicle. And again, they have 578 battles this guy has fought in. So he's been in a number of vehicles before resting here. And these are the medals that he personally has won. And you can change the pictures and the names. They do charge you for that, 50, which is a little bit ridiculous, I think. It's a little bit much just to change the name. But anyway, you've got common skills. Camouflage, firefighting. Brothers in Arms. So these are ones that both you get a percentage of them as you increase the skill. Camouflage really doesn't do a lot for vehicles that aren't meant to be camouflage. In other words, if I have 100% in camouflage, my E100 is not going to be camouflaged. But if I had 100% in camouflage in my Stug 3 or my Panzerjäger 4, I could be nearly invisible if I was back in the trees and I've got a camo net on and da-da-da-da-da-da. So that's the next thing we'll talk about is, let's go over a few more of these skills. So see, like most of these skills, you have to be at 100%. Then the maximum view range. So if your vehicle is already at maximum view range, which is 500 meters, this wouldn't make any sense to get. It would take a lot of time. So definitely, study up on all these. Decide what you want to get. The Mentor is a good one. This Brother in Arms is a good one. And the whole crew has to get it together for it to work. So That might be the next one I go for. And all the different crew members will have skills, that benefit their position. So, smooth ride, improves accuracy when firing on the move. Well, that is good to have, but in a Tiger 2, I'm basically never going to fire on the move. So that would not be good for this vehicle. Uh, Ramming, I probably don't go fast enough to do too much ramming. Preventive maintenance. Yeah, this is a good one. And see, all the commanders came into effect at 100%. All the ones for the drivers give you a percentage increase. So at 1%, you're 1% efficient. 100%, you're good to go. But increases vehicle rotation speed. That looks like a really good one. Let's check out what the gunner has. Ooh, marked enemy targets remain visible for 2 more seconds. That's actually incredibly valuable. Improves accuracy of a damaged gun. Say fix the gun. Snapshot. Yeah, both of these. Ooh. For my next one, let's see. Now this is if you're a good team player, you get this one. If you're a little more selfish, you get that one. Probably gonna get snapshot. Yeah, all right. I admit it. Let's look at the upgrading vehicles. So obviously, as we already saw, each vehicle has its own tech tree. And what you have in each position, for quick reference, is listed down here. The Germans have excellent radios. So basically what the radio does, for example, it allows you to transmit enemy positions back to your allies. But if you're a scout with a radio that only transmits 500 meters and you're 600 meters ahead of your nearest ally, they're not benefiting from any of the information that you have. So one of the benefits of the German line is that they have excellent radios very early. And I think my radio operator has... Let's check him out. It's a little disorganized. I'm a little all over the place. Signal boost. Or extends the signal range. That's what it says here. If two radio operators have the skill, only the higher rating is effective. So yeah, some vehicles will have 2 radio operators. And in a World War II tank, the radio operator was also the assistant gunner. So call for vengeance. Anywho, so next you have the equipment that you can purchase and put on here for in-game money. But to remove, it's fairly expensive, so to remove it without destroying it, they charge you 10 real world kind of gold dollars, which is that's got to be like a dime to remove this. So it is kind of weird. They charge you 10 gold for that, 50 gold to change your name. So I've got on here the large caliber tank gun rammer, negative 10% to loading time. Coated optics, hey, why not? And the enhanced gun laying drive. 10% to aiming speed. So another interesting part of the game is that it's not exactly a tank simulator. Not like Steel Beast, Pro P, or something like that. But it definitely gives you an authentic kind of World War II tanking experience. So all the vehicles kind of have representative characteristics of what they were supposed to be in World War II. So the Germans are kind of your long-range snipers designed to take out the enemy at standoff range. The Russians are kind of knife fighters, but they like to get in close with guns that do a lot of damage, but generally aren't particularly accurate at long range, but they are very fast, and they have good sloped armor. And the Americans, I found, kind of are somewhere in the middle. Then you had, so let's just look over some of these. So these are all the different kinds of things that you can put on. And some of them are meant for, stationary vehicles. Some are meant for vehicles on the move. For example, the binoculars give you plus 25% view range for a stationary vehicle. So I'll generally have that on my tank destroyers. Whereas on my tanks, which are more likely to be moving or not stationary long enough to get the stationary classification, I'll put coated optics on them. Toolbox plus 25% repair speed. Some people really like that. The improved ventilation for class 3, and they had for all the different vehicle sizes. Plus 5 to all crew skills. That's a really good one too. 6 of one, half does the other. And these have actually gotten a little bit more expensive. I think these were only 500,000. So let's talk just a little bit more about the vehicle classes. So you've got heavy tanks, as I said. And they're kind of your heavy hitters, and they sit back and they slug it out, right? The Tiger II is the Tier 8 out of Tier 10 German heavy. And it's probably the first kind of real German heavy. That the Tiger, without the sloped armor, unless it's in a fight with other tier, just with other tier 6s and maybe with other tier 7s and mostly tier 6s, you could play it like a heavy, but most of the time you have to play it like a tank destroyer with a turret. Because for tier 7, that long 88 is a good gun, I think. But you can't play it like, say, a Russian heavy, where with the sloped armor it's going to be able to bounce a lot more shots. This has a lot of armor, but you're just going to basically have to suck up everything. It's got very little damage reduction, so you're sucking up all the damage that you're taking. Then you have your ammo. Now, the middle one here is always your special ammo, but it costs a lot more money. So you can buy it either for real 11 real gold per round or 4,400 in-game credits. So even if you're paying in-game credits, it really eats into your per game profit. So if possible, I try to stick with just the regular armor piercing or heat. But say if I'm a tier 7 and I'm in a game with a bunch of tier 9s and I see somebody ahead of me who's almost dead and I'm shooting from the side and I really need to kill him, I might throw in one of these. Plus it boosts it with my boost. If I can boost my stat with an easy kill, I'll throw one in, right? Okay. So the heavy tanks, the medium tanks we talked about, right? They swarm. So the Panther 2 here, which again isn't a real tank. It was a prototype. That's the thing about the Germans. The Germans had a lot of prototype vehicles, but in fact deployed a lot fewer unique vehicles than the Allies did. Now, besides tanks, you have two other classes of vehicles. One are the tank destroyers. Now, in general, until you get up to the higher tiers, they have excellent native camouflage values. The crew of a tank destroyer, I'm pretty much always going to start training them in camouflage first, and I'm putting a camouflage net on this bad boy. And finally, you do have the artillery. Like I said, that shoots from a top-down view. So it's got a very unique gameplay style. And actually, if you get in games, there's a lot of, and get on the forums, there's a lot of debate about, whether or not artillery is overpowered, whether or not there should be some kind of limit on the number of artillery pieces per match. I don't know. I think the fact that they have, 4 different classes, that there actually are 4 different roles for them on the battlefield. Oh, I didn't even talk about the light tanks, did I? The scouts. So your light tanks. Remember when I said that artillery can only shoot at what they can see? So the artillery is hanging back, way back in the backfield, while your linemen and running backs go out to fight with each other. So the job of the light tanks is to locate those linemen and linebackers and whatnot, so the artillery can hit them before they get to your linemen and linebackers, but also to avoid those people altogether, to get in the enemy backfield and go back and take out their artillery. You'll see a lot of times they call it suicide scouting, where if you identify 9 enemy vehicles, you get the scout award. So if you just drive out there and hit the big first enemy group, it's not too tough to get the award, but in general you're not doing your team very much good, because they can, at that point in the game, guesstimate where the enemy is anyway. So it's generally better for the scouts to try to stay alive as late into the battle as possible to continually provide scouting services. And last but not least, we have the consumables, where I can repair a module. So say if my gun gets knocked out or my sights get knocked out, I can repair those. Small first aid kit, I can heal 1 wounded crewman, and manual fire extinguisher, I can put out the tank quicker if it catches on fire. There are large versions of all of these, but to me they just eat up too much of the profit compared to how often I would use them, so I stay with the small versions. Okay, so the format of World of Tanks is basically you have 2 company-sized elements, 15 vehicles each, which is about 2 tank company teams, in a meeting engagement, or hasty defense perhaps, but basically at the very tip of the battlefield where these massive huge battles start, you're the lead company of the lead brigade, of the lead division, da 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 da, of the two opposing forces who meet at these battlefields. Uh, it's quick, quick in and out, have fun. Launch the game, select your vehicle, hit battle, and you're ready to go. Let's see. There are premium accounts and standard accounts. So right now we have a standard account, but we're going to buy a day of premium. Oh, and one of the benefits is you get the shiny looking hangar. I don't think it makes a much difference how the vehicles look in World of Tanks, but I did notice with the shiny airplanes in World of Warplanes that the premium, the models themselves looked much better in the premium hangars. So that is it for the introduction to World of Tanks. I think next time we'll actually get in some gameplay. Oh, have a good one.